Hey guys, what is up? So today I am going to be teaching you how to make a DIY rhinestone crystal bikini. I've seen a lot of these all over Instagram lately and I wanted to pick up one myself, but when I went to some of these websites, the prices were a little too steep for me. I was looking at like $300, $400, even $500 for one, and I just was not about to spend that much money on a swimsuit that might possibly not fit, and it was non-refundable. So what I decided to do instead was I decided to go out and pick out a swimsuit of my liking that I knew was gonna fit me, and then customize it by ordering different crystal appliques and rhinestones and gems that I could sew and glue down. With that being said, I will definitely link down below all the different products that I use in this, or similar items if I can't find the exact one. Before we get started, if you are new here, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button down below for me, and if you thought this video was helpful and you enjoyed it, please go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Without further ado, I'm gonna shut up now and let's get right on into this video. You'll need scissors, clear thread, needles, some E6000 glue, tweezers, some crystal chain, miscellaneous sized gems, preferably the kind that have a flat back as well as holes so that you can sew them onto your swimsuit. Any crystal appliques you might want to use, it's just up to you depending on what type of design and style you're going for. These happen to just be some of the ones that I chose, which I will link down below for you. And of course, last but not least, your swimsuits. I went with a strappy white bikini top, which I did do some altering to. I did cut and re-sew the elastic around the neck because it was not quite tight enough. And I also sewed the centerpiece here together where the two cups meet because I wanted it to be a fixed cup. And then I also went with some strappy white bottoms. Now the white on the top isn't quite as white as the white on the bottoms, but that's okay because I plan to cover the top pretty much completely with jewels, so it won't matter that they aren't perfect. For this particular swimsuit, I did spend a bit of money. The top was $25 and the bottoms were $65. I did want them to be of better quality because I know that once I sew on all of the appliques, it's going to be pretty heavy and I want it to hold up. And I'm just gonna play around with the layout of how I want the appliques and jewels to look. And I definitely recommend doing this because you wanna make sure that you are going to like the pattern before you start sewing it on, because once you sew it on, it's not, I guess, permanent, but it's a lot more difficult to fix. For the center of the bikini, I bought this, it's actually a Swarovski crystal, and there's a hole in the center so that I can sew it on, and this is about $5 at Michael's. So I think I'm gonna put that right in the center of the bikini. Next, I'm just gonna start playing around with the layout of how I want the gems to look when they are on the cups of the bikini. Once you're happy with your layout, make sure you take a photograph so that when you start working and sewing down, you don't forget what the layout looks like. So I think what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna glue down the little crystal to the center here. It seems like it'll be the easiest. And I'm just going to take my needle with my clear thread here and get started. For this, you're gonna wanna flip the swimsuit over because you did want to make a knot at the end of your thread here. It's a little hard to see, but I did triple knot it. And you're gonna want this knot to be on the inside of the swimsuit, not the outside. So you're just gonna go ahead and pull that all the way through so that the knot is on the inside. And you're simply going to thread it through like this. And it's gonna be a little annoying, but you are basically just going to go back around and pretty much repeat the same exact process. Once you feel like it's well enough secured, just go ahead and take your needle just underneath the fabric and create a loop. And then you're literally just going to knot it a few times, and this will ensure that the jewel does not fall off the swimsuit, which we definitely do not want. Once you feel like it's secured, go ahead and just clip. And once you sew that down, it should look something like this. So I think the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing down the appliques. You're going to want to cut a decently long piece of thread for this because you don't want it to be too short. It's easier just to sew all the way around with one thread. And again, just make sure to triple knot your needle. That way it's less likely to come undone while you are threading. And follow with the same step on the other end. This part may be a little tricky, so I'm going to take out the removable padding out of this because I only want to sew through the first layer of the swimsuit, not through the back. Okay, so again, you want to start in the back and just pull your needle all the way through, all the way until the knot in the back catches like that. And just continue this procedure all the way around the entire applique. So I ended up actually sewing the applique along the seam of the swimsuit, which worked great because going through the top layer of fabric here was a little difficult. However, I did do that on the center of the applique. So initially I was gonna sew all of these jewels down, but I decided that it would be easier if I just took the E6000 glue and some tweezers and just glued the gems down instead. And if I need to, I can always go back and sew them on additionally after the fact. The way that I do this is I just pick up one of the jewels here with the tweezers, and so that the flat back is exposed, and then I just add some glue to it, and then I just very carefully place it where I want it to go. And then I pull the fabric just to make sure that there's no ripples underneath, and just press it down. With E6000 glue, it doesn't dry immediately, so you do have some time to readjust should you place it down incorrectly. Once you have everything glued on into place, just let it sit and lay as flat as possible until the glue has time to fully dry. Like I said, this glue does take a bit longer to dry than other types of glue, but once it's fully dried and adhered, it's pretty much possible to get things off, so that is what we are going for. For the second side, I found that it was easiest if I pinned the applique in 3 places exactly to match how the first one looked. That way they both come out identical once it's sewed down. And again, you're just going to repeat that under-over process, just making sure that it's very securely pinned on because you definitely do not want to go through all of this trouble just for it to come undone later. Once you have finished gluing down all of your gems and sewing on all of your appliques, let the swimsuit lay flat overnight. That way nothing will get moved out of place and it will be perfect and dry by the morning. Now that you've completed your top, it's time to move on to the bottoms. So as you can see, I clipped off any excess crystal chain on either side and pinned into place. And now you can just repeat the same step with the clear thread and sew it right on. Once you finish sewing down the applique, you can go ahead and glue on any jewels that you want to include on the bottoms. Once you finish gluing down your jewels, let it lay flat overnight so that the glue can dry.
It's been so long since I got so close to someone. I know this ain't love, but let me stay a while. And pull me closer tonight, keep holding my hand. I know this ain't love.